Welcome to the live stream. I am Keith, Life Journey Production Studios. We are live again on a Tuesday. Welcome. If you are watching this live, then I welcome you. If you're watching this pre-recorded, I welcome you. Looks like our audio levels are pretty good. It might just be a tiny bit hot, so I'll move back from the microphone. I'm actually streaming live from the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. That's right. So unboxed it live on Saturday, I believe. Yeah, I think it was Saturday, and hooked it up on Sunday afternoon. Pretty much had an idea of how I was going to do that. So I got it all hooked up. Still have a couple little things I'm going to probably tweak. I only had to use one splitter. I should have got that out. But I used one of these. And that was not to do with the ATEM at all. I had more than one of these before. I had two of these so that I could split what goes to one of the channels. This is a 2 in and 1 out, but I'm using one of these now on my laptop so I could come out of my laptop and I can either go into the ATEM, or if I don't need to show my computer that day, I can go over to this monitor right here behind me. So if I'm using this camera, then I can use that to put the stream up and monitor the stream. Right now I have the stream on a different computer here. So let me hit stop on here. I'm still using my Hyperdeck to give you another camera angle. So I'll cut back to that angle here right there. So it's kind of the sky cam. As you can see, do have a cable in the way, but I wanted you guys to see my desk. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. I really wanted today to talk just for about 30 minutes is all I have time for today. I get to go to a new venue tonight. So I need to get prepped for that, and I'm picking my son up, and we're going to go actually to a large venue. They're doing non-black magic streaming, and I want to take a look at that. I will report on that next Tuesday. That was supposed to happen last week, so this week we were going to be talking about that, but the guy who's giving me the tour, who's my connection, used to be one of my producers in my recording studio. And actually incredible producer. He actually graduated from Full Sail. His name's Jason Vorpagel. So shout out to Jason if you ever watch this. But he's going to give me a tour tonight. He's in charge of all the behind the scenes. And so it's going to be exciting to talk about next Tuesday. I'm going to bring back some clips, some photographs, everything they'll let me get away with tonight without having to take a bunch of big DSLRs I'm going to be shooting tonight from my iPhone and using my little Rode Lav mic. So today I want to talk to you about, or talk with you, have a conversation about the ATEM Mini Pro again versus the Extreme ISO. And you know, I've talked about it here before. I looked into the Extreme and the Extreme ISO by Blackmagic Design very thoroughly prior to making a decision to buy it. They made the announcement. I watched the video a number of times, and then I started waiting till other people got the Extremes and watched their videos and listened very carefully to the pros and the cons. And then after I was pretty well satisfied, and I think the first person overseas got their ISO. They were shipping, I think, overseas in Europe and places before they were coming to the United States, and that's where I hail from here in the USA. I got a chance to watch a couple of those videos in the languages that I could understand, because there are some that got into Japan and places like that. And I kind of made a decision that I think this is the way I want to go. It's going to solve a number of problems. And that's what I want to kind of talk about tonight. So I do have them here side by side. Let's cut again to that shot. And I apologize. There is a cable in the middle of my shot here. No, I guess there's not. So this is that shot of my desk, and move this away a little bit. You can see I have my Pro and I have my Extreme ISO, and you can see they're quite a bit bigger. Here's a reference, my hand size. So that's my iPhone camera, and I'm using it through the Hyperdeck, which is right here. So if I hit record, I have this SDI to HDMI to SDI converter, and it goes into the input on the Hyperdeck. The Hyperdeck is a recorder. It's also a play deck, and so that's where I'm going into. And so I have this coming into channel 7 and 8, and I was in 3 and 4, so it took up half of my channels before. So half of my channels were gone. So I really like the fact that now I don't have to use splitters to get two different things in. And I won't go into details about the splitters tonight, but I will say that these worked really well. You can choose channel 1 or channel 2, and it just lets whatever you have, the two inputs, it lets one of them go through and the other one is just on hold until you hit the button. The button's right there. I'm pretty sure that's in focus. Let's see. Not really. Facial detection is on. So anyway, that is by TECHOLE, and they work really good. And I have one of these still available in my studio. The rest of these will go in my ATEM Mini Pro traveling bag because I will use some of these occasionally. So I now have camera 1, which is this camera over here. And I'll cut to camera 1 here real quick. I have this camera going into channel 1, and then I have channel 2, and then I have channel 3 right there. And this is another camera. This is my 5D Mark III right here, and it can shoot down at the desk. And then camera 4 is now my desktop, and that's the one that I can switch if I want to. So that's in 4. And then I have my Hyperdeck in channel 6 and 7. And so one is, these first 3 are cameras. Go back to this overhead shot here. These first 3 are cameras. So my Canon 5D, or my Canon EOS R, my Canon 5D Mark IV. Move this microphone out of the way. My Canon 5D Mark number 3 is my 5D Mark III. So EOS R, 5D Mark IV, 5D Mark III, and then 2 is my 4 is my desktop. And again, there is the shot of the desktop, and that's my software. And you can see my audio levels, so I can show my desktop software. So back to channel 2. So again, having the extra inputs is really helping me out. I'm still getting used to where things are at. And then I have this confidence monitor right now. I'm showing the program out. That's actually the HDMI out number 2. So the HDMI out number 1 is I set for multi-view, even though the HDMI out of the Upstream Pro can go to any channel. So I could just look at camera 1 or camera 2 or camera 3. But right now I'm using the HDMI out 1 as a multi-view, and that's on my screen here. And that's also split on the screen behind me here. But this other HDMI out is great because I can feed that into channel 6, and if I cut to it right now, channel, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I cut to it, you have the exact same picture because I don't have multi-view set on it right now. So if I wanted to show you my multi-view, I would go into my software. So let me show you that. Channel 4. Go into my software, go up here to outputs on the top screen, go to output number 2, and I'll come down here and choose multi-view. And now I have the multi-view up on the screen, and I can cut to it. Cut to channel 5, sorry. So here's the multi-view on channel 5, and you can actually see how many different frames I have. I know you can see me up here. You can also see me in the super source. I designed this super source right here. to be able to show you, and we'll look at that in a minute. But now you're looking at the multi-view. Now, if I don't want that to be multi-view, if I just want to use that as a confidence monitor, then I would switch it back to the regular view. So let's cut back to camera 2. And usually you're not going to do that on the air. Obviously, you're going to do that off the air, but I'll go up here now and I'll show you what I'm doing here. Let's go back into camera 4. So I'm going to go up here again to outputs. And you see in channel 1 HDMI, I can choose any of these inputs. So I have it set to multi-view right now, and that's what I'm using to mix from. But channel 2, I can route wherever I want it, and I have it on multi-view right now. I'll go back to program out, and that lets me see what you guys see. And I can see right now that you're looking at my audio settings. You're looking at my control software. And so I want to be able to show the control software, so I can do that now. I can also use HDMI 2 out as a confidence monitor, and I've split that again so that it's going into my ATEM, so I can show it to you. And I also have it split to go out to a confidence monitor, and that I'm just using splitters. So I'm still using splitters to go to monitors and go to sources, because I want to be able to send that to more than one place. But I have enough inputs now on the ATEM Mini. Plus, I can add in that other camera angle through my Hyperdeck, because I already have my Hyperdeck plugged into channel 7 and 8, and it doesn't have to be in 7 and 8. That's just where I have my Hyperdeck. And my Hyperdeck has a video HDMI out and an SDI HDMI or out. And so I have the HDMI going into my monitor in my studio just for me to see. And out of the back of it, I have, out of my Hyperdeck, I have SDI coming out, converting it to HDMI, and it goes into channel 7. And then I have an alpha channel coming out of the Hyperdeck as well, and it's only used for alpha graphics. If I have a video playing, like our intro video, I'll see that on channel 7 and 8, because if it's playing a video, you just see that on both channels. But if you put a alpha graphic in there with an alpha channel, you'll see on the regular output the graphic, and then on the second output, you'll just see the alpha outline. And we'll look at that again. You can see that in my Hyperdeck video. So pretty incredible opportunity here to compare the ATEM Mini Pro and the ISO. So let me do that here real quickly and go over those things with you. In the things that jumped out to me playing with it the last 3 days is just the things that you have to really wrap your head around. I mean, it took me a while to wrap my head around the ATEM Mini Pro, but let me just let you know that there's a lot more things to wrap your head around. I've already talked about 2 HDMI outputs, and that you can literally route them wherever you want to, within reason, obviously. So that's one thing, which is great. That's an asset for me. Then there's 4 upstream keys. So on my ATEM Mini Pro, I had 1 upstream key. So if I wanted to have a still graphic up right before I went live, I couldn't put my lower thirds up without going into the media pool and flipping graphics. And now with more than 1 upstream key, they actually added the other thing that you got to wrap your head around, and that is you have 2 media pools. So let's bring that up here on the screen. And we'll wrap our heads around that first. I already showed you the 2 HDMI outputs on the top of the screen in your control software. So now let's blow our minds with this. So now I have 2 media pools. It's 1 pool, and you can see how many images. But here you have media player 1 and media player 2. And as you can see, this is my opening graphic, and I use the video instead from my Hyperdeck. But if I wanted to put that graphic up right now, all I have to do is hit the media player 1 and then cut to it. And there you have it. I can cut back, so I can cut from it and back. And if I want to put up graphic number 2 and just show you this graphic, I can cut to number 2, and it looks like this because it's designed to be a lower thirds. So it's not a still image, it's a lower thirds. And because of that, you need to use a key to bring that up. And if it has an alpha channel, then you would click on the pre-multiplied key. And so you're going to use your keyer to bring that graphic up. And I'm not going to go into all that. I've talked about keys before. I just want to say this real quickly, that's what's really cool. I can go between the two graphics. If I want to cut from graphic 1, cut back to 2, I can cut back between these, which is another great thing. So if you had 2 images that you wanted to cut back and forth to in the middle of a presentation, you could do that. In fact, you can actually design things in PowerPoint and do a green background, and you can actually key out your background so you could use your PowerPoint to put those graphics on the screen. So you could do some really cool things by using your alpha keyer. And again, I'm not going to go into that. So one of the things that I really thought was cool compared to the ATEM Mini Pro versus the ISO, number 1, 2 HDMI outs, right? Number 2, the keys, and you also have to wrap your head around those. So you have to get acquainted to how things are routed, and that's why you want to play with it. That's why I'm streaming right now live, because there's no better experience than to go live and make the right decision. So as I show you these things, that's why I need those extra channels, because I wouldn't be able to show you this screen if I did not have that extra input on the ATEM. So I get to cut to my software, but because I have those extra 4 inputs. So 4 extra inputs, mine are all filled. The one extra one I have is assigned to my my streaming bridge. And so I can stream to it from my other ATEM, my ATEM Mini Pro, if I wanted to. And demo that. I'll do that in another video, because I actually have come out of the ATEM Mini Pro, and I have an input going in, or out of the ATEM Mini Extreme, and I actually have an input going into the ATEM Mini Pro. I used one of my splitters to do that so that I can actually demo the streaming bridge. So I'll be able to show people how I go live on the streaming bridge, and I'll be able to bring that signal into my ATEM and show you live. And that's this channel right now. It's channel 5, and that's why it's blank. For some reason, it's not cutting to channel 5. 1, 2, oh, channel 6, sorry. So it's black because that's my streaming bridge. And if I was to go live to that, it would actually, so if the video went black, it's because that's where my streaming bridge would come in. So if I was to broadcast my program out into my ATEM Mini Pro, and let me cut to that overhead shot here. Streaming bridge here, that is 7. Still getting used to the extra. So right here, I have coming out of my ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, I'm coming into one input so I can send the program to my streaming bridge. So I could actually set this up so that if I had this already set up, I would be able to right now just hit go live, and it will immediately go to my streaming bridge. Channel 6 would come up, and I would be able to put that on the screen. And I'm not going to demo that tonight. I'm going to demo that later. And that's what I recommend that you use your streaming bridge for. Now, why would I do that? Well, because if you were sending me a signal from your ATEM Mini Pro or your ATEM Mini ISO or your ATEM Mini Extreme or your ATEM Mini Extreme ISO or your new web presenter, you would be able to send me your signal and come right into my show, and I would be able to put you up in my super source. So let's cut to that right now. So here's my super source, and I preset this up. I actually created a macro because that brings up the next two things that you got to wrap your head around, and that is super source. Super source is really cool. It's 4 boxes that you can put anywhere on the screen, and you can see right now I have 4 boxes up there. And you can assign whatever input you want to those boxes, and then you can use the presets that's built into the ATEM Mini streaming, or the ATEM Mini Extreme, or the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. And you can use those presets, or you can size these boxes and move them wherever you want, increase them, make them smaller, and then you can then make a macro. And you can use those 6 buttons, which is the other thing. You have 6 macro buttons on the front of the ATEM Extreme ISO and the ATEM Mini Extreme. And let me show you those here real quick. So let me go to, I'm getting so lost here. Where is that camera right now? There it is, 7. Sorry, I lost myself there for a minute. So those buttons, those macro buttons are right here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttons, and they're assigned to the macro pool. So let me show that to you here. So if I go into the macro pool, right up here is where you find the macros on the top. These macros right here, I can't make that window any bigger, but these macros, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are assigned to the front of the ATEM Mini. So I can have more macros than that, and I can use the companion software that's out there and my Stream Deck, and I can program those macros and then activate them with my Stream Deck. But what I think is amazing is I can have my 6 favorite macros programmed for all of my shows. So if I want a certain super source, right, I can have a macro button for that that actually puts that super source ups and assigns whatever cameras I want. So for instance, let's say you're like one of my acquaintances here on social media. If you are training people how to play an instrument, you could have a close-up of that instrument, like if you're a guitar player or something like that, or a piano player, you could have a close-up shot in one of the boxes, nice and big, and then the shot of your face playing the piano so you could talk to the people, or guitar up on the left, and you could just have a double picture up there. So that's really cool. And you could program a macro for that. So if you're doing an introduction, you're talking to your client, and then all of a sudden it's time for you to grab the guitar or sit down at the piano, or maybe the piano's right here, and now you want to do that next shot, you could just hit the macro button and it would make all the changes for you. And you could do that right on the ATEM interface Extreme, or the Extreme ISO, without having to go into the software and do all those switching inside the software. So again, these macros right here can be programmed, and I'll do a video on how to program macros here eventually. Could be used to, the first 6 could be assigned to those first 6 buttons. So 4 inputs. And again, I'm using channel 1 for camera 1, channel 2 for camera 2, channel 3 for camera 3, and then channel 4 is my computer software. My computer, I can put whatever I want up there on the screen. Then you go to input number 6, and that's the multi-view. So I have the multi-view or the program view on that. So if I want to show you the multi-view, I can go into the output and set that to multi-view, and then I can send that picture to you right in the live settings by hitting that button. Then I can use channel 6 for my streaming bridge. So if I had a guest come in, I could have that assigned in the super source interview. And so if it's time for a guest, I could simply have my favorite macro, push that button. It would put me on the left, the guests on the right, open up super source, and do all of that work for me. And that's what's really cool about super source. That's what's really cool about having the 4 inputs. And then obviously 7 and 8 are my Hyperdeck regular output and my alpha channel. And so, and then like I said, I'm able to use my Hyperdeck for another camera, and that is because it can do an input for recording, and it also can do outputs. So all I have to do is switch between recording mode, and that shows you my camera, and switch back to video mode. And just so this live stream can see that happen live, let's switch that right now to camera input number 7, which is my Hyperdeck. So if I wanted to play a video right now, I'm going to push this button so you can see that. And my video will come up. I'll go in here and turn off my my key so you can just see the video. And now I'm going to push the button again for record on the Hyperdeck. And now it'll go back to the overhead camera. And you saw that little bit of glitch because they have to communicate. And I think that's pretty incredible. I don't think I had that completely changed. So anyway, shout out to Bill. It's good to see you, Bill. Thank you for saying it looks great. I hope you guys will get lots out of this video. I literally have these two pieces of equipment side by side, and I've been able to really think about it. I wanted to put them side by side and have my brain in my ATEM Mini Pro mode, right? Because I've been doing this since June of last year. So I got some months involved. I've been going live every week to practice on a Facebook channel, something entirely different than this. Just to practice. I had very few followers there. It was just every week to practice. And then I would do live stuff here in the studio as well. But I really wanted to do that. I did a couple of my wife's podcasts live. We did a COVID update with her and for her business. So her clients would know what the procedures are going to be. And so we did all that from using these tools. So my ATEM Pro brain has now got to transition over, and I'm going to have both tracks because I'm going to continue to use the Pro for some live events away from the studio as a mobile rig. And so it's a lot more streamlined because I got one downstream key, one upstream key. So I only have two keys to worry about. Now I have four upstream keys, which is mainly designed to do the DVEs and to do the picture-in-picture and the flying transitions and cropping and all the things you can do there. You can do alpha graphics there. You can do stills there from your media pool. You can send a camera to those keys as well, and that's where you can get picture-in-picture. And then you have two downstream keys, and those lay on top of all the other layers. Now you have two, so I haven't looked into what layer lays on top of what, but and so now you have all six of those to think about. So I went from 4 inputs to 8, that's double. 1 HDMI out to 2, that's double. I went from 1 upstream key, watch this, to 4. And I went to 1 downstream key to 2. And to throw it all into a pot, guess what? I got a graphic for this. We have to cut to this graphic because I took time to make these. Where is it? Media player 2, let's cut to that. Oh, wait, not there, sorry. I already dropped it on the screen. So you see it right here. Double, right? Inputs. And then I'll drop this other graphic. And here's one of the cool things. Right over here, I have headphones. So I can go into the software right now, which we're going to do. I'm going to bring the software up to you. And I'm going to go to my audio settings. And right down here, I have my headphone settings. And I can turn on the main channel headphones. So now I'm hearing what's playing in my microphone. And if I was playing my video, I can flip on the headphone over here to channel 3. And I would be able to monitor my audio on my video that's playing at the beginning of the show. What do I have up here? I'm sorry. So now you can listen to whatever is going on, which is great. Before, you had an issue being able to really make sure your show's working good. So I had to play through a monitor or through this TV. Now I literally can put my headphones on and I can listen to every single channel. I can do a proper sound check from my ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, and that, my friends, in my opinion, is one of the great features. The 4 inputs would be probably my number one. A lot of people would say super source, which obviously that's going to be a really cool feature, and I'm going to get lots of stuff out of that. But I'm telling you what, I'm an audio guy, and to have headphones, to me, that's major. mean, that is really cool because I want to know that I have audio. I want to know that the video is playing audio. And while you're watching the video, if I'm wondering, I can put my headphones on, or I could do the whole show with these headphones on. And I would do that if I was off camera as a producer. But when I'm doing a podcast in here with someone and I'm producing it off camera, then I'm going to have these on. But today I'm literally streaming live to YouTube. I'm not recording in the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. I'm not ISO recording, which is another feature. But I just wanted to say this initial impression, and that's really all I'm talking about. What stood out for me was I could get everything routed that I wanted to get routed. I could get my computer in and my 3 cameras, still use my overhead iPhone camera through my Hyperdeck. I could also get my multi-view in the podcast. And so when I want to train someone or I want to help someone, that's super important to be able to show them my computer screen and to show them the multi-view and to show them the software, because you can show the software from your computer, but you can't show through your computer outputs the multi-view. The multi-view has to be shown from out of the ATEM. So you have to have one of the HDMI outs, the one you have on an ATEM Mini or the ATEM Mini Pro or the ISO. You'd have to have that coming into one of your channels in order to show it, or split it like I did before. But right now, man, I can just use my main source out for multi-view. I can just put that, split it, put it into my confidence monitor here, and then I can set the other half into the ATEM. So it's pretty exciting. I can split that channel, which I'm still doing. And that gives me the ability to do multiple monitors like this right here. So I have multi-view over here, and I'll cut to camera 4 so you can see that. What camera did I cut for to? Camera 7, sorry. So you can see I have right up here my multi-view, which is split from the HDMI out input number 1 over here. I have what's playing from my Hyperdeck. Again, so I have a HDMI out of that's going to this BenQ monitor. And this BenQ monitor lets me switch between regular 1 input. I can go picture in picture. I can go split screen, and I can go 4 outputs. And I'm not going to mess with this right now because that would mess up my live show. So let me back out of that. And then down here, I have the stream. And up here, I have my laptop, my PC. So this is not my laptop. This is my PC over here. So I have the room set up, and then I have that channel to bring in guests, which is exciting too. And that is my streaming bridge. And I have it all hooked up underneath the desk. I have it hooked up to my cat cable. And so mainly I have it set up right now to stream in to my studio. But I've already told you I have it plugged. If I want to stream to it, I can send a signal out of my, because it's hooked up to Ethernet, I can send a signal out of this. Let's switch cameras here again. I can send a signal to my streaming bridge out of the ATEM. I wouldn't be able to stream to you guys live. I'd actually have to choose that. And let me show you that here real quick. Might as well just show that. So if I was to go back into my switcher software, and here's your 3 choices: switcher, media pool, here's switcher, here's media pool, here's audio, and then camera control. And I don't have any Blackmagic cameras. So if I go up here to outputs, and there's 3 up here, here's your palettes, here's all your keys. Your upstream keys, your downstream keys, your super sources down here. My media player, this is my Hyperdeck, and that's hooked up. And then I have outputs. And I could actually, I'm not going to change this right now because I'm streaming, but I can choose here instead of YouTube, I can actually choose a different output from that source and stream directly to the streaming bridge. So I can broadcast to the streaming bridge if I wanted to go into someone else's show. So the cool thing is I can do that from my ATEM Mini Pro. And I could still stream live from my ATEM Mini Extreme. So I'm using my Pro as a separate tool right now to be able to send a program out to my streaming bridge and bring it into the show, or I can send it to someone else. So what you're seeing right now, I could send anywhere around the United States by going right out of my ATEM Mini Pro. And then when I'm doing a mobile shoot, I'll have to unhook that one HDMI in channel 1, which is a program out, the same thing you're seeing. And I'll have to rehook that up. And then I have that one, no output. I have no HDMI out. So right now I have no confidence monitor. It's a great tool. I mean, it's an awesome tool. And the ATEM Mini Pro next to the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO is incredible. So again, 4 inputs and the headphone out. I have headphones for my Rodecaster Pro, and I have headphones over here now. I might as well switch to that shot. You can see it. And then hanging right here on a confidence monitor, I have my other headphones. You can see them now, and they hang right over here in the corner. It's just off camera right now. So pretty incredible. It's been 30 minutes. I want to say hi to Kevin. Great to see you on here. I appreciate you joining me very much. I enjoy your work. Keep it up. I have learned a lot. Keep up doing graphics. They help. Okay, I'll keep doing graphics. And I have these crazy graphics on the screen right now. Again, it's practice. So these streams force me to design graphics. Now, these two I'm using right now do not have an alpha channel because I was lazy. That's one more step. When I render them, I just render them in a JPEG, a high resolution JPEG, and I go into Photoshop. I open them in Photoshop, and then I resend them out right directly to the ATEM Mini, because Photoshop has the ability now to send directly to your ATEM Mini media pool. So it's cool. So you choose alpha, and then you have to go into your streaming keys and you have to choose pre-multiplied. Might as well show you. Just bring it up. Let's go over here to our switcher settings. Go over here to palettes up here. Go down to the keys, and here you have my media player 2 in key 2. Go up, and here's key 1. Remember, there's 4 keys. So 1, 2, 3, 4 isn't open. Here's some transitions that I can change if I wanted to. Close that again. And then I have my downstream keys right here. And I've got 1, 2 downstream keys. So what I want to show you right now is if this graphic that I have up on the screen, so let me go back to that graphic here. If that was a alpha channel graphic, okay, cut back. And let's double check where that's at. So that graphic is in Media Player 2. Here's Media Player 1. Here's Media Player 2. You can see it right there. It's a PNG, so it's transparent, but it doesn't have an alpha channel, so the edges and the transparencies don't look that great if you look at it really close. But I have to make sure I click right here on pre-multiplied if it has an alpha channel. If I click on it right now, I'll show you what the graphic looks like. I'm in 2, so I better go down to 2. This is really going to mess things up, so watch this. I apologize ahead of time. Look how bad that looks, because if it does not have an alpha channel, it goes crazy. So FYI, make a mental note when you go to do transparent graphics like you see here on the screen. If you render it with an alpha channel, it'll look a lot nicer around the edges. It'll look a lot nicer around those edges. And if this was a transparent color, my shirt would be moving around in it, and it wouldn't look that great. But if you add an alpha channel, then alpha channel is going to cut a box out behind it. And so it's going to sit this on top of the alpha channel behind it. And you got to choose pre-multiplied key right here in the keys that you're using. So I have key 2 assigned to the Media Player 2. and I have key 1, and I think that's the way it came default. But I can assign those to whatever I want, the more confused I want to get. So anyway, so again, 4 channels instead of, or 8 channels instead of 4 inputs in the ATEM Mini Pro. If you have the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, same thing. You have 4 inputs, HDMI 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I have 8. You have 1 HDMI out, and it has multi-view if you own the ATEM Mini Pro and the ATEM Mini ISO. You don't have multi-view if you own a ATEM Mini. You can buy a Mini, and you can use it for 4 inputs. You even get an upstream key and a downstream key. You can come out of the USB-C port and use it as a webcam. You can also do that on your Pro as a webcam. You can do that on your ISO as a webcam. What you can't do from the ATEM Mini that you can do from the Pro and the ISO is it doesn't have a render engine in it, right? So it's not taking it and making an H.264 file to get it ready to send out and also let you record it. But the ATEM Mini Pro does that. So it's got an encoder built into it. It also has Ethernet out for live streaming. You can't do that with the ATEM Mini. It also has the ability to record the program out. And this is the program out right now. And then it also has multi-view where you can't do a multi-view from the ATEM Mini, only a program view. So the ISO then will do that same encoder, and you can record all of the 4 inputs, which is what I can also do on my ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. I can record all 8 inputs if I wanted to right now by just clicking on record all channels. And I might as well show you where that's at before we go tonight. Cut back to this camera. If I go to outputs and I go down in the recording area right here, it says ISO all inputs. And if I had Blackmagic cameras, I could click right here and record on all the Blackmagic cameras. So if I click that button and hit record, if I had Blackmagic cameras, guess what? I would be recording all of my inputs, ISO, 1080p, H.264, because that's what the ATEM Mini does. It encodes H.264. But I could also, if I had Blackmagic cameras, I could record inside of all of those cameras. When I'm all done recording, I can take that mix that I did live into DaVinci Resolve, and I actually can see the program recording of what I did. I can also see all of those tracks, and I can also render it using all of my Blackmagic design footage, which is incredible. So you can go USB-C out of the ATEM Mini. You can go out USB-C out of the ATEM Mini Pro and ISO. And you can also go USB-C out of the Extreme and the Extreme ISO. But what you also get in the Extreme and the Extreme ISO is you get 2 USB-Cs out. So I've got one dedicated to my web camera in my laptop for Zoom. Anytime I want to go live, I can send them this whole mix right from my ATEM. And then I also have one to record from. So I have my little drive set up all the time. I'll steal this one. And these are recommended. These SD drives, the scan disks, are fast enough, according to the Blackmagic site, to be able to 550 megabytes a second to record ISO. I haven't done a test yet, but many people have. So this is what I record on when I'm going to record the show. And when I start doing ISO, it'll record all the channels right here. And you saw where you go into the software to choose that. So again, I really love the headphones. I really love the 4 inputs. And I love the fact that I don't have to switch cables anymore for the USB-C and all that stuff. That is amazing. So I love that. I love that I can show my desktop, and I love that I can have my favorite super source set up and ready to go. So anytime I want to show these particular screens, I even have a macro to use that version, and I love that. And I can just simply take these graphics on and off the screen by using that key, and I could have another key all set up and ready to go, which is exciting as well. So that's kind of a benefits between the ATEM Mini, a first look, right? First impressions for you guys tonight. I want to take a few minutes for some questions. So this is a Q&A, and I apologize for not doing more. So if you have any questions, thanks, Freddie. No questions tonight. So if you have any, please put those in the notes and I will answer those. That's a good look at the ATEM Mini Extreme first impressions. I use these little switches in my studio. These are power switches you can buy at Home Depot. I have one that has three different outputs on it. One of these turns on my lights behind me. One of these turns on my Stream Decks. My ATEM Mini Extreme and the power supply to that because it doesn't have an on and off switch. And then the other one controls my cameras on and off. Actually, my two monitors. This one right here controls the camera powers. It actually has more than one output that switches on and off. And this is so I can turn my Hyperdeck on and off. And then I had to buy this switch on Sunday as well at Home Depot, and it turns on my ATEM Mini Pro on and off because I didn't need that. I had to use the one for it to turn on my Extreme. So I can turn the Pro off right now. I don't need it on. I'm not using it tonight. I'm not streaming to my my streaming bridge. I'm not demoing that tonight, but I put it on so you could see that overhead shot. So it would be in this shot all on. So there's the size of the Pro. There's the giant Extreme. There's the Hyperdeck. There's my Stream Deck XL. And there is my Rodecaster Pro. And then I talk all about the ability to change different audio inputs. So the main output of my Rodecaster Pro goes into the HOSA, and I can switch that to the ATEM Mini input number 1. What am I showing you guys? I can switch that into ATEM Mini 1, or I can send it to my speakers in my room. And then I also can send it audio directly to the input in the Hyperdeck if I want to record this EOS R 4K. I could right now record 4K and switch over and put audio in sync out of that HOSA as well. So one input, 3 outputs. I love that little HOSA switch. They're 1/4-inch right and left jacks, and you have 2 1/4-inch right and left jacks that come out of your Rodecaster Pro. So I hope I'm not confusing you guys. I know that it's a lot of information. And I said at the beginning of the show, and I'm going to end with this, that the challenge, anytime you get something new, right? I always tell people this, change, right, is what you get when you go after anything new. Remember before we had our debit cards, we would walk into a store, we would buy that Pepsi or Coca-Cola, whatever it was, and they buy some candy or some gum, and they would hand you back a few ones and some change. And a lot of us don't like change. We don't know what to do anymore. It goes in our console. It goes in a jar at home. But change is what you get when you go after anything new. So when I got that unboxing of that ATEM Mini Pro, I had to figure out how to use it. That was in June, and it took me a while. That was a process of a couple months to really wrap my head around it. Then I got the Extreme here in April, and I unboxed it last Saturday. Literally, first time ever getting it out of the box was Sunday, excuse me. Did that live unboxing Saturday, sorry. Sunday, I hooked it all up. It took me only about 2 hours, and then I had to run over to Home Depot to get some more power and some switches. So I bought a new surge protector because my old one was getting old. And so I figured I might as well upgrade the surge protector. So I came home with a surge protector and actually a couple extension cords and that switch. And so now I'm using it. I played with it on Sunday evening, kind of came in here and thought about it. I've already done 2 Zoom training calls on it in the last couple days using the ATEM Mini Extreme. And this is the first time that I've gone live on social media using the ATEM Mini Extreme and streaming directly from it to the internet. So it's pretty incredible. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I had to jump on off for a bit. Have you figured out the source panel on top? I just started playing with it. Yeah, I'm starting to wrap. This is a question from Bill. You guys can see that in the comments. Yeah, I am starting to wrap my head around it. It's on my list. I'm trying to take it one step at a time. So I went from inputs to media player 1, media player 2. Then I started dealing with the keys because I needed to sort out the Hyperdeck, right? Because that's in channel 7 and 8. And when I want to do alpha graphics, I have to assign it to a key. And now I have 4 of them. So I can use one of those 4 keys to assign to my Hyperdeck. But one of the things I think is really cool is I can switch what's assigned to my Hyperdeck keys. If I use 1 and 2, I can change the input on that right there on the top. And that's really cool. I've also played with Super Source. So Super Source, I'll show that to you guys real quickly. You go into palettes. Super Source is right here. Click on it. You have these 4 boxes. So I can assign box 1, 2, 3, and 4. Once I choose one, I can go down after I've chosen it. Click out of that. And I can go right here and assign what I want to it. Let me take this graphic off. So then I can go back up to box 2 and I can assign box 2 to I have my desktop assigned to it. Box 3, I have my multi-view assigned to it, which my multi-view, I renamed that output. That's the actual HDMI number 2 out of my ATEM Mini Pro. And then I could assign my streaming bridge to that if I wanted to. If I had a guest coming on, I could make a macro for that because I've already named my streaming bridge input because I can rename any of the inputs on the ATEM Mini Extreme. And obviously I can choose box 4, which right now box 4 is not being used in this little Super Source that I have laid out. So I'll bring that up one more time so you guys can see my Super Source. So that's what those boxes will let me assign to those. So if I go right now, you can see box number 3, right? Box number 3 is my multi-view. I can actually go and assign my Hyperdeck to that. And there's my overhead camera with graphics. There's my overhead camera without graphics. So, and what he's saying or asking me is that some of that can be assigned right from the top. See right here, right from this top row. You can see right now, key 1 is assigned to MP Player 1. So I could switch that right now by using that. So it's pretty incredible. I mean, thank you for that comment. That's cool. I think, Kevin, you're asking me what mic stand do you use? I'm using the PSA 1 from Rode. I highly recommend it. It's a little noise. The springs are a little noisy because I've had it for over a year and I need to do a little bit of maintenance, which I haven't been doing. So hope I haven't missed any questions. Looks great. Hi, my welcome. What mic stand? Enjoy the venue. I had to jump off. Super Source. I just started playing with it. I see the ATEM bridge, but what are the 2 converters on top and their purpose? Okay. Let's go back to that shot. Intelligent questions demand an answer. These 2 right here are converting the SDI out of the Hyperdeck, which is a alpha, regular channel and alpha channel player. And so those 2 convert their Blackmagic design one-way converters. They go from SDI to HDMI. These are 2 little icon HDMI cables, yellow, because I wanted a specific color to be able to see those. I'd like to have different colors for all of them. I'm starting that. But there you go. So that's HDMI into channel 7 and 8, and that was channel 4 and 5 back in the days of the ATEM Mini Pro. Now I use 7 and 8 out of the Hyperdeck. Now, one more thing that you see there in that shot, I also have this big converter, and that is a HDMI to SDI 6G. And what that does is that gives me the ability to come out of my Canon into that converter. And I also have a right and left audio feed that I can come out of my HOSA. The HOSA again is right here. And again, that's a 3-way switch. One audio input in, put the number down here. One input in, 3 out. Number 1, okay, goes to my speakers right up there. Number 2 is fed right into that converter. That comes out into the input on my Hyperdeck, so I can actually record 4K. These will only record 1080p. This will record 4K 422 at up to 30 frames per second. And I want to be able to get my 4K on this camera. I'm sorry, not on this camera. I apologize. It's this camera right here. So camera 1 will let me have 4K out. So I'm over here too, move my microphone. So, and then I have a light on both sides of me, Elgato key light, so I can be either way. And then I get some fill light behind me as well in the very back. So this camera right here, I can record 4K from it. I have kind of a cooler look, depth of field back here. I have all my cool stuff up here on the shelf. And so when I was doing my other live streams, I would shoot this way because it's just a talking live stream. I'm only playing intros and outros and putting some slides up occasionally. I'll change the way I do that when I go live again, but this is kind of more of my, you know, live from the Bennett house look. And this other is more of my training look where I need to access all of the gear. So for me, 2 cameras aren't about 2 camera angles. They're about, this is for all my Zoom meetings. I don't have another desk. I only have one desk, where this right here is for just kind of my really cool, relaxed, can have a little a music stand right here with notes on it. This look right here is great. And then, like I said, I'll start using my super source for this. And I'll change the camera input number 1, which I'll go ahead and do live right now. I know I got to go here in a second, but let me change this real quick. I will go into box 1 and I'll change it to EOS R. And then let's put super source back up. So now I position myself right here, and now I have super source set up this way. And this is a layout I like. I'm going to do another layout that has only one box over here on the other side of me. Actually, it's over here in this picture. It's reverse. So again, I can assign those slides up there, or I can have notes on the side or a PowerPoint on the side. And I may change the size of these boxes when I do that. But you saw how quickly I was able to change super source just by going in that one screen, choosing box 1, which I know is my picture. And then obviously now I'm going to put it back on my my Canon 5D Mark IV. And now if I cut back to super source, I'm back at this angle. And you got to position yourself, right? Because you got to be in the center with this kind of frame. And then I would have a different graphic up with just my name down here in a different key when I go to do that. And I can program that all in the macro. I just haven't done that yet. I will reprogram this macro, because if I change any of the multi-views right now, or the super source layouts, those preset layouts that are right here. Do I have, no, let me go, sorry. Those super source layouts that are right here on this super source layout, if I change any of these, my super source is going to change. So let me cut back to my super source. I'm getting used to where that button's at. Now, if I click this, everything changed, right? So if I want to go back to that setting, it's not a preset built in. I have to have a macro for that. So there's my macro. I just hit my macro button. So let's mess it up one more time. There it is, messed up. Going to change cameras back to camera 7. Here you go. So I'm going to push this macro button right here, which is the first macro. That first macro is right up here in macros. So it's super source number 5. It's in slot 1, and I have a picture-in-picture over here that I'm playing with. So that macro is already programmed. So let's cut back to super source. It's all messed up. I want to go back to my default. I have a macro, and so it's there all the time because what I'm doing is I'm going up here and under file, and I'm saving startup state. So that's saving into the ATEM. So anytime it fires up, guess what? I didn't put the button all the way. Anytime I fire up the ATEM, all of this stuff is still in there. My media pool is in there, which is right here. So all of these images are in here. Close the macro. So all of these are in here when I start it back up. And if I want to change those, I obviously would change those inside the software. So, man, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Let me just change slides here. Go back to my original slide here. So if you have any questions, leave them in the notes. I'm going to actually roll out with that. I'm going to actually, in a minute, I'm going to push Media Player 1 button, and it's in my preview screen. I'll show you that real quick as we go out. I'm going to change the output on HDMI out 2 to multi-view. I'm going to let you guys now see the multi-view in channel 6. No, it's not channel 6, channel 5. There you go. Multi-view, and you can see that I have my graphic all set and ready to play in the media pool. And when I cut to it right now, I set that in 1. So there it is in the preview screen. And now if I cut to it, and I'm not going to do that yet because I'm going to say goodnight, then it will go live and I'll roll music from my Rodecaster Pro and we'll say goodnight. So I have this still up. I'm going to say goodnight now. Thank you so much for joining me, Kevin, Bill, Freddie. I appreciate you joining me live. I appreciate you tolerating my ranting about my first impressions of the ATEM Mini Extreme. And I enjoy the practice that you guys are letting me practice and asking me questions. So please continue to ask me questions, and I will do my best to answer them. Again, this channel is about educating, and so I hope you're enjoying the education. So I will see you in the next video, and for tonight, that's it.